water right back in the spot. Here we go. It's like he's going to stop the show and have a banana. Welcome to episode 3 of Whiteboard Wednesdays. We back at it again on this snowy Wednesday, April morning. Lots to talk about today. I think we came back after a weekend, and a lot happened this weekend. We had the Elite Eight. We had BioSteel All-Canadian game. We had some culture-changing news this weekend, unfortunate news. We'll get into that, and then we'll take some viewer discussions today and talk about the Final Four as well. So without further ado, we'll get right into basically talking about March Madness. I mean, I've lost all interest in it, to be totally honest, because I crumpled up my bracket and threw it away. But we could talk about. I know there's one guy in this room that's extremely happy because he ran to me this weekend and said, "Yo, remember on the first episode, I said Texas Tech. I am the man." So I'm gonna throw it right to the man to talk about your Texas Tech first time ever in the Final Four.
Right.
I'm sure there's a whole group of Texans that they're happy as heck. I'm sure the TV ratings are mad as hell. But tell me why you picked them and what your thought process was and how far can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been following Chris Beard for a while just because all the success he had when he was at Little Rock, and then he's had so many one-year stints where he's done a great job. So I started following him really closely to just learn from him, what he does to establish a culture, and started writing a lot of articles about him. And then last year when I was at Oral Roberts University, one of the best players in the conference transferred to Texas Tech this year. He's doing really well for them. His name is Matt Mooney. And so when he went there, I started watching him even more. And just the way they played defensively, I kind of knew that, Chris Beard would really have his guys ready. And that's kind of, you never know in March Madness. So, just kind of went with them, and here they are. So I'm happy for, Chris Beard. I think he's done a phenomenal job. And I'm also happy for, the player that transferred there from our conference last year to play the biggest stage.
No, that's good. And around the table, anyone else have anyone that's still alive in the Final Four here from your bracket?
Yeah, I'm 2-4 right. 2-4 right now.
Who do you got left?
I got Virginia left, and I got Michigan State.
All right. And what was your thought process? And I mean, Michigan State's one that you could kind of safely go with.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of adversity through the first round or two, and I think they've rallied together in that. But why Virginia? Especially after the past years.
I think just based off like coaching staff and alone, they always do a great job of recruiting really high-level guards. I think a guy right now, and it's kind of ironic because his last name is Guy. I think Kyle Guy, the way that he's playing, the way that he's able to bring his group together. One thing that I was hearing from Coach was that he is a constant energy giver. And is also a great teammate. He's always the first guy to go and pick up his teammates. And I think, especially down a stretch of a tournament like this, that's something that's needed, in all shapes and forms. So that was, for me, I think it's one of those safe picks. I think with Michigan State, from that side of things, during the beginning of the season, they were a number 1 ranked team and then kind of fell out of that spotlight. But just based off of the way that, Manny and I have been talking kind of how Cassius Winston's been playing, the way that he's running that point guard position and able to just distribute the ball, let alone score, has been amazing to see. And guys like, Kenny Goins, that, has been stretching the floor really well and shooting the ball. Right now, that was my pick to win the tournament, and hopefully they can keep it going. But obviously they got to battle up against Texas Tech, and ironically for Manny, those are both 2 teams that he likes. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to see, and you guys will be able to be there for it. So that's going to be awesome.
Jeremy, I don't know how much you got left in your pool because you're shaking your head, but let's talk a little bit about Duke over the last couple of games. I mean, I think everybody all season they were the odds-on favorite, obviously, to based on talent, roster, coach, school, to go far. What do you think happened over the last couple of games, and do you think that with having a close game, the next team tried to do some of the similar things, and then having 2 close games, the next team was able to put together just little pieces bit by bit to take down the odds-on favorites?
Yeah, I think the tournament in itself is just a different beast. It's technically the third part of the season, and I think they were just a victim of their youth in a lot of the tournament in stints. I mean, they won 2 games in 2 weeks. Well, yeah, a week apart from each other, where UCF literally just missed the tip in, and then Virginia Tech, he missed the bunny. So I mean, you could say they could have been home 2 weeks ago, but I mean they didn't. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I think the NCAA tournament rewards the best team. I think Duke has the best of massive talent, but I think they were just caught by a driven, better team. Michigan State went through a lot. I mean, they lost one of their better guys earlier in the year. They lost a guy 2 weeks ago, and I think the inspired ball is just tough to play against, especially in a tournament like it's the NCAA tournament. It runs off these Cinderella type mythical stories. And Cassius Winston is a different dude. As far as college basketball goes, Cassius Winston is a guy. So, I mean, it's not – and Tom Izzo is Tom Izzo. So, I mean, his teams are always tough. They play the right way. They fight for the right things. And they just trust and believe in each other. And you got teams like that, and it's tough. So, you just ran up against a tough team.
Most exciting game so far in your guys' mind, open to anyone here? The game where you were kind of on the edge of your seat saying, this has been the best game in March Madness so far. I mean, this weekend, it seems like there was a lot of games that we didn't see.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
But
like, honestly, pointing out, like, the one that you mentioned, like, the UCF Duke one.
UCF Duke was
like,
crazy.
that was crazy.
Duke was crazy.
Yeah.
Purdue, Tennessee was crazy.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech Duke.
Virginia Tech Duke was crazy.
There were some key calls in that game that could have changed the outcome, for sure.
I agree with that.
There's a few we missed because we had Bob still going on. And stuff like
Yeah.
that, but
And
I
just
think-
in general, the job.
I mean, the news I woke up to this morning is
Virginia.
Buzz.
Virginia. What's the name was crazy? Virginia.
the last game. Yeah, the last game.
Was that
Oh,
Purdue?
God.
Yeah, that was
Virginia,
Purdue.
Purdue
Yeah,
was
that was
crazy.
Purdue.
Yeah.
Buzz, I think officially taking the Texas A&M job. Big news to you guys, or worst kept secret in college basketball at this point?
Worst kept secret.
What about you?
Yeah,
It was kind of rumored for a little
It was
while.
kind of
and
rumored a little bit.
what does that do to that staff? What does that do to the players that are there, and how does that affect kids? We were obviously with one of their commitments this weekend, and news was kind of rumored, and he had been talking about it a little bit, but just from a culture standpoint, is it a downer for those kids? Is it like, hey, what am I going to do now? What do you do if that's your kid?
Well, I think in college basketball, I think more so when kids commit to go to a college university, they're kind of committing to the coaching staff. That's why recruiting is such a big deal in college basketball. You're going to play for a coach. And so the guys they have signed already, they may alter their decision. Some of them might get the offer to go to A&M with Buzz. But it definitely does change a lot because, the relationships there, the bonds there, the love is there, and, that's pretty powerful.
So do a lot of those kids decommit and say, okay, I'm going over there now?
I think it depends on the situation.
Each one?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. That wherever's that Texas A&M might already have a point guard that's experienced that might want to stay, and so if Buzz bringing a point guard, for an example, he might want to pursue a different route because their opportunity is not going to be there.
I want to go back, and the reason I brought that up because that game, Virginia Tech, their last game against Duke, and I want to shout out Coach McNeely because I saw him grab the clipboard and he ran one hell of a play on that timeout to get that bunny that was missed, but that was wide open, and you've seen him in that timeout grab that clipboard and jump in there and say, I got this, and that was clean. That was clean, and that's one that's going into my archives of anyone that's going to play me is going to get caught with that one once or twice throughout the next couple of years. But, shout out, obviously being a Canadian, you pay even more attention to the interaction that he has with that staff, and you see just how important he is on that staff. He looks like he's a glue guy, spends a lot of time up in Canada recruiting Canadian kids, and, they had Nikhil down there, and Jonathan Kabongo, and they have Emmanuel Miller coming. So, I wanted to give that shout out to Coach McNeely. That was a pretty special moment for us to watch as Canadians, even though he probably does it all the time. Yeah. Back to March Madness. You two are heading down to the Final Four. A lot of exciting times. Tell me, what is the thing you're looking forward to the most this weekend, in knowing that you're walking into conferences and seminars and coaching clinics and games, and what are you looking for the most?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank, yourself, Jesse Tipping, the entire Athlete Institution for even giving me the opportunity to pursue that, beyond grateful, and I thank you. Personally, my thing's not going to be about learning. As my first year coach, I feel like I have a lot to learn still. So my motive going in is definitely just to attend as many clinics as I can, learn from guys and speakers that have already been there. They are where I want to get to. So, I have a lot of ready to write a lot, ready to learn a lot, listen a lot, and this trip is definitely going to be productive in terms of from a learning standpoint.
Jeremy, you've been there, grad assistant last year. What's the biggest thing that you're looking in year 2 to go back and do, or your biggest learning from year 1, or advice you could give to Manny after being there for 1 year, or any coach out there listening that's considering entering into this coaching profession? And Final Four is really known as the biggest job interview I'm going to say in professional sports. It's a meet and greet of the who's who. So what's some advice you could give to Manny? What's some advice you could give to any other coaches that may be attending based on your learnings from last year?
It's a very good experience for young coaches, for older coaches. I was privy to have the information from at Washington. I had 3 head coaches on our staff, so got to be able to pick their brains about how they view the Final Four, about how they view young people in their venturing of the Final Four, and how they navigate their way around it. And quality over quantity was a big thing that they always preached. Like I know guys, like I was kind of, when I pulled up last year, I seen Ed Cooley and Leon Rice and Mark Few standing on the corner, and I'm like, yo, like I can literally roll my window down and say what's up to them. And then you just see all these faces that you kind of look up to, and it's kind of like, I wouldn't say breathtaking, but it's kind of humbling in a sense that you're in the same realm with them. So you have to conduct yourself like you're in their realm and like you belong. Fans are fans, but if you're a coach, be a coach. So they expect you to conduct yourself in that manner. But learning, though, learning is a big part of it. Quality over quantity is a big deal. Like if you're having a conversation with somebody and you see somebody walking over, that don't mean you need to cut your conversation short to make sure you just go say hi to them and have belief in quality of what you're doing over the numbers, because quality is what manifests down the line. Like again, like a lot of people say, "Oh, I know such and such, and I know such and such," and well, does such and such know you? So if such and such knows you, then you're in good shape. But you don't want to be the guy like, "Yeah, that's my guy," and you're like, "Hey, do you know such and such?" And they're like, "Who?" Like you don't want that deal. So, but again, learning is the big thing. That's what I'm excited for. They have these X's and O's clinics that I love. You get to just hear perspectives and kind of formulate your own. The socials are cool. I just love the whole NABC setup. Like I think they do a really good job every year of providing a platform for young people to get out and learn and mix and mingle and be comfortable in what they're getting themselves into.
Right. Moving along, I think it's fitting. We'll take a little time out. Obviously, this past weekend there was some news that impacted not only the basketball world but culture in general. And I think rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I think that sent shockwaves through the basketball world, but in general, people that didn't even know really who he was are now figuring out who he was and what he stood for, and how important to the culture he actually was. And when it happened, I obviously thought of Jeremy right away, being from LA and out in that area. That would be similar to someone from Toronto that we would have known or whatnot. What do you think the real impact of his passing is on the basketball world, the culture, and then take it down layers, and that's what the media sees, but on that community where he grew up and is still at?
It's unfortunate. It's it's unfortunate that somebody who grew up where he grew up and in the circumstances that he grew up in did all that he did and stayed. Like I know a lot of rappers and, you know, celebrities get grief about growing up in the hood and leaving and never showing up again, and then they're deemed fake and et cetera, and then it's like, you know, when they do what you ask of them, unfortunate situations like these arise because you have people who don't value them how they should. So for me, it's tough because I have family at home, and to have a feeling of this fear that you don't even want your family leaving the house sometimes because you just know how home can get in these certain circumstances. It's tough, and I think I personally never met Nipsey. I know several people who do know him, and it's just a sad situation. It's unfortunate. Like it's tough. Like we look at Nipsey Hussle and Lauren London, and like they're celebrities and it's glitz and glam, and it's like, man, they're human beings too. Like they just so happen to do their jobs really, really well that they garner fans and they have fame and money, but they're human beings, and it's tough, and like it's really shaking us. Like I was alive when Tupac and Biggie passed, but I was young and didn't get it. But now as an adult, like to see what he was doing for our culture and our community. Because in my opinion, basketball and music kind of run a line. They run parallel. And to see him at Laker games and out in the community and friends with Isaiah Thomas, who's from Seattle, and you know, like it's groundbreaking, and it's sad.
Is Nipsey's passing this generation's Biggie and Tupac? Is this how you think? You know, obviously I was there. I mean, not there, but I was in that generation when it was like Biggie and Tupac passed, and it was like, man, this is crazy. Like, who would do this? And obviously theirs is still unsolved. But I think it's even more crazy to think that, like, this was done by one of his people, someone he knew. And that's the part that's hard to answer. And it's usually someone that has so much accessibility to you that could just walk right up on you. That's the troublesome part, because we had this conversation yesterday. In being a celebrity, for the most part, people just walk up on you, you know, and I've talked to athletes where like people want to take a selfie. They just walk up and you're unsuspecting of like any do-gooder or do-badders or whatever the word is, of people that have ill intentions. And he would probably just, the guy walked up on him and because he knew him. And that's the part that's just crazy. And the impact, I mean, we sat and had chicken wings last night, and you see Russell Westbrook go for 20, 20, and 21. And is there some significance in those numbers? And if there is, tell us what that is.
So Nipsey is a Rolling 60s Crip affiliate. So everybody knows Neighborhood Nip is from the 60s. 20, 20, 20 equals 60. Russell Westbrook is an LA native, LA rep. So Russell Westbrook represented Nipsey Hussle by getting 20, 20, 20. So, and again, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you know the culture back home and how it is, like, no random is just walking up on Nipsey Hussle in his strip mall in front of his marathon store and doing what he did. So, I mean, at this point, everybody knows the cat is out the bag and everybody knows who did it, but, I mean, it's sad that it came from somebody so close to him.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, obviously that's a tough one, and I think the basketball culture has really taken note of that, and you see the tweets and the interest. So, again, rest in peace. You know, obviously the impact to his family and his friends and his community will be felt for a long, long time, and hopefully other people step up and continue on doing good for those communities and those people that Nipsey has touched and helped out. This past weekend, get to Brandon a little, we just finished up the BioSteel weekend, which had 24 of the best females, 24 of the best males from across Canada be brought in for a game. It's the first time that the female game was on TSN. We had some athletes in this gym this weekend, and I can't forget the junior games, the junior girls game, the junior boys game. Let's start with the junior boys game for a second, because, you know, coming in, Elijah Fisher. And Jeremy, I think, you and Brandon both got some feedback on some IG video that kind of went out on Elijah Fisher this weekend where he threw himself on a guy. I'm not even going to say he dunked on someone. He threw himself on a guy. And that video went viral. Is he that next one out of Canada in terms of like the one that everyone gets behind? The Wiggins, the Barrett.
I definitely think so. And like, especially with like the culture of basketball in Canada, I've noticed a change as far as like how it is in America. We see it like a lot of these kids now, like their development is so much more it's at a faster pace in comparison to what it was before. And so like looking at Elijah Fisher, about 6'5", freakishly athletic, and has a pros game already at such a young age. People see, like potential lottery pick already, and he's only 14, 13, something like that.
14.
So a lot of people are like, and I'm sure a lot of people are like looking at that like, like this kid's gonna be something special, like kind of like let me tag along, or like let me try to like help this kid out. Like there's gonna be good people and there's gonna be bad people, but definitely there's gonna be a lot of people behind them.
What's your favorite moment from this weekend? What stuck out besides that dunk? Because we just spent some time on there. What was your favorite moment from this weekend that when you think back, you think, oh? Because I sit there and I think, okay, the dunk off was good. I learned a lot about players that I had seen play and thing, but you see their character, their personality, their smile, their love of the game. I think there was some moments in the dunk off where we saw that. Jacoby Neath really shocked me with his athleticism, and I don't think a lot of people really took in. He jumped over someone and put his arm in the rim, and I don't think anyone, outside of just jumping over someone, I don't think anyone really took in the fact that his elbow was in the rim. And so anyone watching, go back and that and pay attention, because that was he was up there. And there's some pictures that have surfaced that I've seen where he's basically looking in the rim. So he shocked me. And then another kid that shocked me. I knew he was good, but I liked the flair he showed in the second half of the Bow game was Marseille Caston, who got a couple dunks, made a couple passes, and I had seen him play in the EYBL last year. But again, watched him, and then when you see him in that scenario, you kind of see him freestyle. So anything else stick out to you guys? I mean, Pat wants to say his comeback. I know that, and the team that made a huge run. But what else for you guys?
I think for me it was just seeing a number of girls in the dunk off. Like to me, like that was almost changed as far as like Canada basketball goes. Like we'll see like one girl in the dunk off, but we had what, three, four?
We had three that legitimately all almost made the dunk. That probably if it wasn't under the circumstances of where we are, they would make that dunk, and they've made that dunk. Yeah. And I said it to other people too, and I'd agree. And I'm glad you brought that up. Is like the state of Canada basketball right now is growing. It's not only growing on the men's side; it's growing on the women. Who would have ever thought 5 years ago that we'd actually, if we said to someone, we're going to have a dunk-off at an all-star game and there's going to be 3 women in that dunk-off, people would have looked at you like, are you serious? Like, come on, man. Like, it's coming. It's coming. And there was some girls in that game, and the size of the girls in that game, they're special. They're going to do some big things in college.
Absolutely.
I think the sky's the limit. I think our girls' Canadian national team is going to be really, really good. I think they're ranked. I could be wrong here, Mark, if we could pull that up at some point, but I think they're ranked 3 or 4 in the world. I'm looking at the screen there, Mark. It says stream stat is bad. Is that like we're bad or we're good? So I think we're coming a long ways with basketball here, and we just got to continue to build it and keep going. Anything around the table? Anything that you guys want to bring up? We have, kind of open space here. Is there any questions, Mark? Anything you could see off IG or anything?
I don't know.
I just want to add though, like, I advise everybody to like really watch like women's basketball. Like I thoroughly really do enjoy women's basketball, and I think part of it was because I just loved basketball so much as a kid that like when the NBA ended and the WNBA started in '97, like I just knew it was hoops. So like I was around watching like Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson and Cynthia Cooper three-peat in the first 3 years, and Rebecca Lobo being in the league. And it's funny how I got older to see all these people that was in WNBA. Like to go back and research and see like they played at UConn well before Taurasi and Maya Moore, and I think their game deserves a little more acclaim than it gets.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, like basketball ain't just highlight dunks, because even the dudes that can only highlight dunk, their careers don't last that long. So it's like as a basketball player, some women are better basketball players of playing the game than men. So I mean, yeah, some people are the hyper masculine guys are gonna say no, it's not, but you can say what you want. Like these girls are good, man. Like I'm really a fan of Cheyenne Day Wilson. She's oozing with talent. I like Micah Dennis a lot. Is that her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
I like
Marissa Russell is a
bucket. She could hoop.
Oh my God,
Aaliyah's good
a
too.
bucket.
Yeah,
And Aaliyah's, I mean,
There was one girl, the girl that we said looked like Michelle. I really like her
Rebecca.
game.
Rebecca. She shoot the
Rebecca
hell out of the
Demecki,
ball.
or she could shoot the crap out of the ball,
Yeah, I
and
see
I had to tell her, like, yo, I love your game because you just go out there and you do it and you look like you have fun and you know who you are when you play, and I think that in itself was special because she looked like she was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
She was hooping. She could shoot the ball, and she looked like she played her role on that team in that scenario. But I could picture her doing well. But
that Cannon Live, Crestwood played. I can't remember.
Crestwood played Capitol Courts.
Capitol Courts. Like Micah Dennis and Marissa Russell versus Aaliyah and
Latasha.
Rebecca. So like I seen that game live. Crestwood was down the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Micah fouls out. I'm like, oh, and then here come three ball, and it's just kind of like it was a really good game. Like I wish a lot more people could have saw it. It was a really good game.
Even the Bill Crutter's point guard, I don't know her name.
Ariana.
The one that I think she won the
Ariana Grizzle.
Yeah, even like the way her shooting ability. I mean,
she went right to the finals of the 3-point shootout at Biosteel, and again she could shoot that ball.
I mean, the way she's been
got a
taught,
clip
she
on.
was exceptional. I mean, her rotation, everything was, they're great basketball players. Really high skill.
I think the biggest thing I saw this weekend was the coachability in the women's side, where you watch the practices and the coaches were getting after it, and the players were reacting and running. I'm not gonna say running systems, but running a foundational offense of just trying to get a little bit of structure, and they pick up on it so quick, and you really saw that, and the interaction with the guys and the girls this weekend was pretty cool to see in the open scrimmage, where girls were trying to throw the lobs and guys were trying to give it back. Like, it's coming. It really is. The culture is coming here, and we got to continue to push it and help it grow. And I think just putting everything else aside, just being able to give that stage for the women on national TV and these all-star games is huge for the continued growth of the women's side, but also the men's side.
Yeah.
Who impressed you guys in the men's game?
I would definitely say Jacoby. I think he did a great job of
I thought you were about to say
trying to heat it. Would say who?
I thought you were about to say who I was about to say, because I thought I was going to be like, yeah, that's it. He's coming.
Yeah, a lot of guys did well. Taryn Todd impressed the hell out of me. Came out on fire.
He absolutely did, and I'm gonna give a shout out to MVP Addison Patterson who came out and was hooping. That guy's just a natural born scorer, and I think a lot of people don't understand how he's wired, but he's wired to score. He could hoop. So shout out to him. I think he did a good job. Who was your biggest shocker? Like, you didn't know of him very much, or someone there's like, oh crap, because there's one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, for me it was definitely Sammy Hunter.
It's the same one.
And so
he's solid.
And like my very good friend who's a BC trainer out there, he's been working for a long time. He always told me about him, but I was excited to finally see him. So I mean, besides basketball player, such a high character kid You know, I picked him up from the airport, and we had a good conversation the entire time, and, you know, race the right way. And, I mean, he's big, physical. You know, Ole Miss is going to have they're getting a gift in him. You know, I think
He's skilled.
Yeah.
He's skilled.
Yeah.
He's not one-dimensional. He's not just
Yeah.
a back-to-the-basket guy. He
Yeah.
can pop out and shoot it. He
Yeah.
dunks everything. It's funny because a lot of NBA guys said he was standing there. And, again, it's not a comparison I'm doing, but his demeanor, his physical traits and his attributes of, like, what he looks like. When he stood there in the timeouts, he stands like Wiggins. He's got kind of that little baby face that looks like Wiggins. And his body's built like Anthony Bennett. And you look at his arms just keep going. He's long, and he wants to dunk everything. And so you look at him, and that was the feedback that was constant all the way down from the NBA personnel that were there watching. So, but I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
I think he also got one of the ESPN NBA draft analysis did a little piece on him as well, you know, because he also impressed their practice as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great weekend for him.
I think the thing that I like the most out of the entire BioSteel weekend is the practices. Practices and the inter squad scrimmage where the teams play each other the day before the game. I think they go at each other. I think you get to see kind of a highlight of what you're to expect the next day. But with 27 of the 30 NBA teams sitting on the sideline watching them, I think they get to now perform, and you get to see the good, bad, and you know, the guys that really get after it and the guys that take this serious. So that's my favorite day of the whole event. But I think this year's game was fun to watch. I think the second half was amazing. The comeback, the people that attended the game, there was a lot of TFC players there. Kyle Lowry, Tyler, Lennox Lewis, Kem Birch.
Masai
You know,
Ujiri was there.
who?
Masai Ujiri was
Yeah,
there.
Masai from the Raptors, the GM. It was kind of a who's who of basketball in terms of coming out and supporting these future Division I athletes, some of them being future pros.
Can I point out one guy that was actually really shocked me this weekend was a guy on our team, shout out Team Red, Nicholas Ogenda.
He blocks a lot of shots.
That boy can get up. He's ridiculous length, and just the way that he was able to play down low this weekend. And a lot of guys were kind of, I think, giving him a little bit of hell for it, just because he's not the strongest individual on the block, but his presence was felt. A lot of that comeback, I feel, was a big part of him. And just another guy that, you know, flat out had no idea who he was previous to being here was Marcy. I think that the way that, you know, he played and the way that he exposed himself real quickly to the world was amazing to see. But the one thing I loved about the weekend, I say, would be him and Keyshawn Bartholomew coming up to me and saying, "Coach, can we pick him up full?" And not like everyone, just them. And as soon as they started picking up Jacoby in full court pressure, it changed the dynamic of the game for White. The way that he had to bring up the ball, and nothing against Jacoby, but he had to all of a sudden from comfort to discomfort to I need to make a decision and make it quick. And sometimes I think that he had his hands on the ball too long, and you know that really disrupted a lot of the decisions that he was able to make. So you know,
What was the chemistry like? And you guys were kind of on both teams, and when I look at it, it's like they legitimately were all supporting each other.
Flat out, I think it started with just our halftime speech. You know, really, you know, big shout out to Coach Justin Cerise, our head coach, who's over at Laurier. You know,
and Nate.
And Nate Philippe, absolutely,
I'm
Nate
gonna give him
Philippe.
out. Nate
Yeah.
Philippe. Those two guys did a phenomenal job with making these guys feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Walking in,
And
it's a difficult situation.
They also like, you know what, and credits to them is they allowed us four to really have an opportunity to, you know, get that spotlight just as much as they have it. You know, from Justin's perspective, you know, he came to me and said, you know, I want you to have your time, your moment. And I don't know if that's because I was trying to really instill myself in what we were doing and trying to make the best of the moments that we had.
And he's a huge Nipsey Hussle fan.
He was really crushed by
crushed
that.
after the game when he heard that news. He was almost to the point he was mad.
Yeah, I think our change though came at halftime, like for real. Like you know, just from my angle, you know, one guy that was looking at me a little like, is this guy really yelling at us right now? Was Ramir. You know, I came into the change room and basically told the guys that, you know, the level of what they're playing, the people that they're playing in front of, the platform that they're on, and the whole concept of just there's so many people that are in that gym right now that would run through a wall in order to be in the position that you're in, and just the way that you're wasting it. I think that was an eye opener for them.
Yeah,
And they
I knew there was going to be a
rallied.
difference at halftime when I heard, hey.
Yeah,
hey.
they ralied. They rallied.
As soon as
behind
that
the
happens,
energy,
I know
that's
Pat
for sure.
had his hands on something because
Yeah.
they all sound the same. Hey.
And you know what though? I think that was besides a comeback. Even if we lost that game, the way that they, I try once again. I try and set a tone. If it's going to be fouled, it's going to be fouled. If it doesn't, it is what it is. I'm gonna die trying.
Yeah.
But to see that the way that they rallied behind what I was just throwing out there into the universe was absolutely amazing. I rewatched the game. And just seeing the excitement from them on the sideline after every
They were
whether it was a
standing,
made three,
they
a
were
layup,
engaged.
like first off, Ramir, you are a funny dude. Your reactions were absolutely hilarious, and just in general, like the.
So let me
way that
ask
they're
you from the
together,
other
it was
standpoint
awesome.
now. Do we need to add more timeouts? Because
No, but-
we could stop a run there, and it's
definitely.
hard, and
Yeah.
and that's a byproduct of it being on TV too. Is
Yeah.
that all the timeouts are really geared towards commercials, and so when you get on that huge run, and I don't know exactly what that run was, but it was
It was like right.
20 to something.
Yeah, it was. We were down by 17, and it was
Yeah.
like full on fledged comeback.
So I mean, we could have maybe added one more timeout to stop a run, but I think overall it was pretty good. I think there's too many fouls called. It was a shame that Joel Brown fouled out because I think that would have made a difference at the end. And but with that being said, it was a great game.
Amazing.
It was one that'll go down that a lot of guys could look back and say, you know what, I had a fun time, and the feedback was all positive. And,
That's awesome.
one guy that was there too, shout out Enoch. He used to play basketball for me. Now plays for the Alouettes. He was at the game as well. Came up and talked, and I didn't know he was actually related to Jaden Bediako. So it's a small world, this basketball community.
It
But
really is.
it was fun, and I want to thank all the players, all the coaches, you guys, everyone that was a part of this game, all the staff behind the scenes. It's kind of a thankless job behind the scenes when you see how many people are doing
Yeah.
so much work. And shout out
Shout
you,
out
Mark.
I was about to say you do more than anyone
Mark.
I think I saw this weekend. Man.
I know he's not on film, and we can do it, but he sits here, he films this.
The boy had his hustle step going this weekend.
He is on the go. Without him, there's no AI, there's no OP, there's no BioSteel, there's no website, there's
No content,
Mark-
no gear.
Mark will be everything and anything that people need. So shout out to you.
Jeremy does love the gear.
Jeremy does. A lot of people do actually, but Jeremy does. So we, shout out everyone who attended, all the people that bought tickets, and we had a blast. I want to give one final shout out, obviously BioSteel with the game and all the sponsors, but a super huge shout out to Nike, Mark Bain, Charles Yearwood, who put everything into this game. The gear these kids got, the sponsorship of the game, the just all of the additions inside of our building, and to make this a comfortable place with the locker rooms and the lounges and everything. So shout out Mark, shout out Charles, Nike, everyone that they had involved in helping, and we truly appreciate it. And shout out to all the sponsors. We could go down the line for the BioSteel game, but there was who else was involved in it? Booster Juice, Mancha Financia, AMG Campbell, Sport Check. If we're forgetting anyone, I don't have it in front of me, but everybody that participated, and I think made this an amazing event for kids of all ages. The last thing I'll say, that junior game, I'm still the size in that game and what we have
Those
to
are
look
big
forward
kids.
to.
Yeah.
There's some special kids in that grade 9, 10 class that are coming up, man.
That Olivier Maxim Prosperous kid is a problem.
He reminds me a lot of OJ Brissett. Just the way his motor is, and just getting every rebound, his size, his wingspan, want to try to dunk everything.
Did those kids go at each other or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
I mean, shout out to the coaches there as well, Jeremy and Roe, for coaching that game and getting these kids to play hard. I think the future's bright on the girls' side, the guys' side. The junior girls game was great to watch. I think there's a lot of
Shout out
talented,
Dom Ennis, what
Shout
up?
out Dom.
a lot of talented young girls that are gonna really fill the footsteps of the girls that did a great job in the senior
Shout out to
game.
Marlo and Z.
Absolutely, two of the best coaches on the women's side. That came out here and again got those girls to play hard as well. So shout out everyone involved. We're looking forward to getting back next Wednesday, getting an update from you guys on who and what you saw and how good the Final Four was in person. Hopefully you guys have a great trip and appreciate
Safe
everything you guys have done for us. And we out, episode 3. Peace.